Today's story is inspired by the world-famous book The Why Café by John Strzelecki. This book is a global phenomenon because it doesn't offer mainstream self-help advice. Instead, it challenges the very rules we live by, forcing us to face the questions we usually avoid. It's worth listening to because it might be the only map you'll ever need to find your true self. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a cold, rainy night in a city you don't quite recognize. The wind is sharp, and your phone has just lost its last bar of signal. You are lost. Not just on the map, but perhaps in your life. In the distance, a warm, amber light catches your eye. It is a small cafe tucked away between two old buildings. A sign above the door reads, The Why Café. My friends, have you ever wondered why we spend our lives running without ever knowing where we are going? In today's story, we are going to step out of the rain and into this magical place. We aren't just here to learn English. We are here to ask 3 questions that might change everything. Are you ready to find out why you are here? Let's push open the door and start our journey together. The rain did not care about Elliot's plans. It came down in thin, indifferent needles, soaking through his jacket and chilling him to the bone. He stood on the platform of a lonely train station in Budapest. His phone was dead. His map was useless. The last train to his destination had already left. Elliot was a man who lived by his watch. He was a man who had his next 10 years mapped out in a leather-bound notebook. But tonight, for the first time in his life, the map had failed him. He started walking, not because he knew where he was going, but because standing still felt like losing. Then he saw it. A small building, tucked between 2 gray stone giants. The windows were fogged with a soft, golden warmth. The sign above the door read, The Why Café. In this story, the cafe isn't just a place to eat. It is the boundary between the life you have and the life you were meant to live. Elliot pushed the door open. A small brass bell rang. Ding. The air inside smelled of coffee, old paper, and something sweet like cardamom. The walls were covered in maps, thousands of them, city maps, sea charts, and ancient drawings of stars. Behind the counter stood a woman named Casey. She didn't ask for his ticket. She didn't ask where he was going. She only looked at him with eyes that seemed to see the heavy backpack he was carrying. Not the physical one, but the one full of expectations and stress. Sit, she said. The rain is over for you now. She brought him a cup of coffee. It was dark, rich, and honest. And then she placed a small card on the table. It was a menu, but it had no prices for food. Elliot looked down, and his heart skipped a beat. Instead of breakfast or lunch, there were 3 questions. They were printed in bold, black ink, as if they had been waiting for him to arrive all night. Why are you here? Do you fear death? Are you fulfilled? Elliot felt a strange discomfort. He wanted to laugh, but he couldn't. He looked at Casey. Is this a joke? The menu only shows you what you're hungry for, Casey replied calmly. Most people think they are hungry for a sandwich or a promotion. But in this cafe, we serve the truth. My friends, imagine standing in Elliot's shoes. If you were lost in the rain, and someone asked you, Why are you here? Would you answer with your job title? Or would you have to look deeper? Elliot realized that the hardest part of the journey wasn't finding his train. The hardest part was realizing he had been running a race on a map he didn't even like. The border between his old life and his new life was right there on a small wooden table. Elliot sat there, looking at the menu. He found he couldn't look directly at the third question. Are you fulfilled? Those 3 words were like a mirror, reflecting his tired soul. Casey sat across from him and told a story about a green sea turtle. It was in Pulau Sipadan, where the water was clear like a blue dream. Casey was snorkeling, and she found herself struggling to swim out to sea. She paddled hard, trying to catch up with a swimming green sea turtle. She felt that as long as she worked hard enough, as long as she didn't stop moving her legs, she could catch it. But the waves kept pushing her back to the shore. She wore herself out very quickly. So she stopped and let herself float to watch the turtle. She discovered a fact that shocked her. The turtle was not paddling all the time. When the tide pushed toward the shore, it would stay still, just floating gently. It never fought against the opposing force. But when the tide rolled back to the sea, the turtle would swing its flippers. It used the power of the current, and with just a little effort, it traveled very far. It was reading the water. It was waiting for its moment. Casey looked at Elliot, her voice low and powerful. "Elliot, you're like me when I was snorkeling," she said. "You've spent your life paddling hard, trying to get somewhere. You've wasted your energy on things that go against you. You are chasing other people's goals. You are meeting other people's expectations. These are like the waves pushing you toward the shore." Elliot looked down at his cold coffee, a dull ache in his heart. He thought of his daily overtime, of the sleep he sacrificed for a title he didn't like. He thought of how he had never truly stopped to feel the tide inside himself. "If you spend all your strength fighting the waves," Casey continued, "then when the real opportunity, your outtide, comes, you will have no strength left to swing your flippers. This is a theory of efficiency and a truth of survival. Mainstream theories tell us to never give up and overcome all difficulties. But at the Café, what we learn is, let go. Let go of the counter-currents that consume you and wear you out." Elliot felt a fear he'd never known, but within it, a trace of coolness. It was the taste of freedom. He realized he had mistaken busyness for progress. "My friends, are you also paddling hard against the waves? Are you consuming your life for dreams that don't belong to you? Perhaps you should stop and look at that green sea turtle. Wait for that tide of yours that flows outward." Elliot took a deep breath. The rain outside the café stopped. He knew he was about to make the biggest decision of his life. He realized that instead of paddling harder, he should learn to wait for the tide that could carry him forward. This is our first lesson. Stop the meaningless resistance and find your own rhythm. Casey paused, watching the expression on Elliot's face. Elliot felt a sense of exposure, as if he were being seen through. "Elliot, do you play golf?" She suddenly asked an unrelated question. Elliot was stunned. "No, why do you ask?" "Imagine," Casey said, gently tapping the wooden counter. "An amateur player hits the ball into a very deep crack in the ground. According to the rules, he must play the ball as it lies, even if it ruins his club, even if it takes him all day. Because if he doesn't, he feels he is cheating, that he is breaking the rules." Elliot nodded. "That's the point of the game, isn't it?" Casey gave a meaningful smile. But this isn't a professional tour, Elliot. No referees, no audience. If that crack causes you pain, you can actually bend down and pick up the ball. Move it to a flat spot and then continue enjoying your afternoon. Elliot fell into silence. He realized the world he lived in was full of these voluntary chains. We always think certain rules are insurmountable laws of physics. For example, you must endure 30 years of painful work to earn the last 5 years of freedom. This reminded Casey of another story about a fisherman. A successful businessman saw a fisherman packing his nets at noon and was very confused. The businessman advised, "You should spend more time fishing, earn more money, and buy a bigger boat." "And then?" the fisherman asked calmly. "Then you can start a company, build a fleet, and earn millions of dollars." "And then what?" "Then you can retire. You can move to a small fishing village, sleep until you wake up naturally, play with your kids in the afternoon, and have a drink with friends in the evening." The fisherman smiled. "Isn't that exactly what I'm doing right now?" Elliot felt a chill down his spine. He was that businessman. He had been sacrificing the reality of now for the illusion of a later. Mainstream society teaches us delayed gratification is a virtue. But under the cafe lights, Elliot saw the absurdity in it. If you have already reached the finish line, why are you still running that grueling marathon? He looked at Casey. "I always felt that if I didn't follow those rules, I was a loser." "Failure," Casey said softly, "is also a word defined by others." Elliot reached out and picked up the heavy menu. He no longer felt it was a threat, but like a visa to a new world. He was going to pick up the ball. He was going to reject that 30-year lie. My friends, has your golf ball also fallen into a crack? Are you forcing yourself to play a painful game for a referee who doesn't exist? Perhaps all you need is to bend down. Acknowledge that rules are fictional, while life is real. Elliot stood up and pushed open the heavy wooden door. The pre-dawn cold air rushed at him. He didn't go to the train station. Instead, he walked in the opposite direction. It was his own morning, one he had never seen on any map.